Alright guys, so today in a surprise episode of Theory Thursday, we're going to be debunking the myth of wizard or the wand. So a lot of people use this term. It's not the wizard, or it's not the wand, it's the wizard that makes the player, to talk about how it's not all about your stick that makes you a great player. It's more about the way you play and your work ethic and the player themselves. So we're going to discuss this old adage today because it gets thrown around a lot, and you especially see it when you see a professional player's stick or someone very good, a professional or a college player's stick that is completely ugly, but the player is extremely good, and people start saying, you know, it's the wizard, not the wand, which is often the case, but we're just going to discuss this idea a little bit and give you guys my thoughts. So in lacrosse, there's not many other sports where each player's equipment is so different from player to player. So you've got hockey, and there's definitely differences between different hockey blades. You've got baseball, where there's definitely differences in different baseball bats. Tennis, there's definitely differences in each person's tennis racket. But in none of those pieces of equipment is the difference as significant or as noticeable as it is with a lacrosse stick. So in lacrosse, the pocket is extremely important. Every pass you're going to catch, every pass you're going to throw, every shot you're going to take, every goal you're going to score in your entire career is going to come out of this pocket. So the way that your stick throws, the way that it performs, its consistency, is the importance cannot be overstressed. But then again, there is an argument to be made that you put any stick in some of the greatest players in the world's hands and they're going to perform very, very well. So for your stick, in my opinion, there is a lot to be said for the wand in lacrosse. It is extremely important, and increasingly important now more than ever, that your stick perform well. So it has to be consistent. That means it's going to throw the same way every time. And this is really the most important part. If you know how your stick is going to throw with every single pass, and you know it's going to throw the same way, that is the most important part. So your stick doesn't have to be the prettiest stick in the world. It doesn't have to have perfect knots and SIs and channels. As long as you, as a player, know exactly how your stick is going to throw every time, that is really all that matters. So if you can throw with your stick with precision every time, and it's not going to whip on you sometimes and go high on you sometimes, it doesn't matter how ugly it is or what the string job looks like, as long as it's going to be consistent for you and you understand the way that it performs. So it is very important not to get a pretty pocket, not to get a perfectly channeled pocket, not to get a perfectly defined pocket, but to nail down what works in a pocket for you. So everyone always likes to say that string's not good, or that string's ugly, right? That channel is too wide, that channel's too narrow. Well, the channel's not too narrow, the pocket's not too deep, the channel is not, it's too narrow for you maybe, but for someone else, that channel may be perfect. So every player has different preferences, and that's what's so important about lacrosse, is preference. So there's no good, there's no bad, there's no ugly, there's no too wide, there's no too narrow, because that too narrow is probably perfect for someone else. And that's why we've decided to offer two different types of mesh, because one's not better than the other, one's not worse than the other. They're just different, and they appeal to different people's preferences. So you need to make sure that your pocket is tuned specifically to your exact preferences. So to reiterate, you must make sure that your pocket is as consistent as humanly possible, that it's going to throw the same way every time, and that you can throw the same way with it every time, that you understand how it throws. And this brings me around to the wizard. To really understand how your stick throws, to make sure you're throwing the same way every time, you need to put in the work on the wall, out on the field shooting, because repetition is really what's going to create that consistency. You get that muscle memory, and not only is your stick throwing the same way every time, but it's useless if your stick throws the same way every time, but your shooting motion or your throwing motion is not the same every time. So that's why you see some of these best players in the world, like Marcus Holman, can go out there and pick the same corner 10 times in a row, because his muscle memory is so precise that he throws it the same way every single time, and it's going to go the same place every time. So this is created by hard work, dedication, and just putting in the hours, and I mean hours and hours of reps on the wall and on the field shooting for corners. So there is a degree to which your stick is going to matter. You can put in all that time getting your form right, and you got the same form every time, every pass, every shot. But if your form is perfect every time, but your stick is not throwing consistently, it's going to be high, it's going to be low, even if your form is perfect. So you got to dial in your stick so it's throwing the same, and you got to put in the reps so that your motion is the exact same every time. And in the end, you'll end up with consistency. All your passing going to be on point, all your shots going to be on point, and that's what's going to get you to make that next team, to get into college to play lacrosse, and maybe even make it to the pros, which I hope is a lot of you guys' aspirations. So I hope that this video helped you out a little bit, and understand what you need to do to be the best player that you're going to be. So get out there, tweak your stick, play some wall ball, and take some shots on the field. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't, and have a great day.